What is going on, YouTube? Welcome back to another adventure with Bearded Bobber. Now this is the part of the adventure where I want to say, like, we are done. The chief is built. She's here. She's beautiful. Where's the wheel? Where's the seat? Where's the fender? What is happening? Well, she's not done yet. I'm gonna go through, talk about the build with you guys on this whole video. I'm gonna just kind of do a voiceover of like different things that I have taken footage of, tearing this bike apart, putting it together, putting it in the show, and talking about why she's not done yet and what we're doing next. I'm gonna let you guys in, tell you guys everything we're doing, and I tell you where we're at right now and what the idea is right now. So things could change. There's some things in the works. Let's get on over and start showing you from beginning to end of the clips that I gathered. Let's go. Alright guys, so we take this back to the moment that the frame had been separated from the heart. That beautiful 116 Thunderstroke right here. I was going over, like, okay, if you guys have ever been to Vegas, maybe you've seen that bodies exhibit. You know, so you can see right here we got the brake lines and we've got the wiring harness. It was all kind of like the body being separated and the veins and all that kind of cool stuff, like, you know, the nervous system and everything. This is before we had the forks off. Now the forks did need a bigger a bigger socket to take that nut off on the top. It's one of the hard things of like doing this for the first time and not having every single tool. Thankfully, my buddy who helped me tear this bike apart had the tool at his house. The next night we cranked that off, got the forks off. Now we do have some ideas with the forks. We've got ideas with the bars. All kinds of different things are in motion for this motorcycle. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Right now I just want to talk about this frame. So I did everything. Like, we did the kickstand, we took the black piece of everything on here got stripped off, important things got taped off, and it got powder coated. Now we taped off the VIN, you know, things like that that we didn't want to mess with. Of course, you want to be smart thinking about all these things. Now the kickstand had like a rivet piece. I had to take that off. Unfortunately, when this happened, there was a recall for the kickstand for the Chief, and mine was one of those bikes. And now I have a new kickstand that needs to get powder coated and get put all back together and get put on this motorcycle. So that piece right there I'm pointing at is something that we did powder coat, but it's actually going to get painted now. And I believe I got some ideas with that. I'm going to go over with my painter. Moto is fantastic. I really love the way this bike came out. I'm kind of going over I have parts everywhere right at this moment. Talking about the logo and the emblems and the different things we were doing. At this point, paint was not happening. So that's the crazy thing, is like I have all this bike stripped apart. It's only going to powder coat at this point. We had no idea about paint. I think oh man, I got into paint like one night when he called me. So, I keep getting ahead of myself. So this whole motor you can see is stripped down. I got the horn cover off. I'm kind of pointing out there's the cover off here. I was able to leave on the brake lines, and the reason I did that, I know some people may be like, dude, why did you do that? Why did you leave it like this? I have everything like kind of separated. I'm pointing at the stuff I wanted to powder coat, but I didn't want to take those heads off. I didn't want to break that seal for that area of the motor. I kind of wanted to keep that normal. I did change out the cam cover. If you guys saw the video of the One Moto show, you'll see that. The reason I left the brake lines on is so that way I didn't have to do the system and flush the brakes. Now doing an ABS system is not that easy, and they usually hook it up to a machine. So that's something I wanted to be very, very careful with, and I didn't want to mess with if I didn't have to. The way the frame came off, I didn't have to do any of that. Thankfully, I'm able to put it back on. This motor sat here for a cool minute. That is the cover I'm talking about that I did change. It's open window, shows off the the gearing and timing, all that fun stuff in there. This motor sat here for a couple months, just like this. Of course, I had to clean up tools and everything else. We have the wheels that over there that I had to take the rotors off. I had to take the pulley off. I didn't powder coat the pulley, but that's actually going to be in the works for the next go around. You can see the swing arm is over there as well. One hard thing about powder coating is you have to take all the bearings out, and a lot of times the bearings get damaged when taking them out, so you have to put new bearings in. And doing that, you gotta hope they have them. Some of these were on back order for months, and we had to find replacements. The wheels actually didn't have the right bearings in them when we put it back together. A lot of the newer Indian motorcycles has a bearing in it. I believe it's 6304 TRB, where the ones in it are RS. The difference in there is it has a little like magnet that reads off the sensor on the outside, and that tells it it's a wheel speed and for the ABS module. All those sensors are right there. That being said, all those bearings have to be, exact. Things that are on back order for months. I was able to get the bike rolling around, so thankfully my dealer helped me out with that. The people who took my bearings out and did a great job helping with that. Right here we have all the parts that had to go to powder coat. I have brand new parts dropped off that were freshly powder coated that need to be changed powder coat, but we got them dropped off, and Young Guns Performance and Rancho did a fantastic job. Right here I'm in my truck. I'm in Costa Mesa. The night before I got to talking with Mondo about paint, and that's what I'm talking about right here. Is just like what happened. If you guys are wondering why I'm not just using that, it's because that was something I posted for Patreon. I do have a Patreon. It's $1 a month. They got early access and they get raw stuff of just like in the moment, where a lot of times I don't post that on just YouTube. A lot of times I like to try to give a little bit more effort when I'm doing a YouTube video versus Patreon. Like, it just sometimes they're longer, crazy, just all that fun stuff. So that being said, I'm talking about, so Mono's like, hey man, I'm gonna have you help me tear my Chief apart because I want to do something similar. I want to paint the frame and I want to do all this fun stuff. And I was just like, yeah dude, I love working on the bikes. I don't mind doing that. I'm gonna probably have to hit you up about custom paint myself. And he said, well dude, your bike's apart, why don't we do it right now? And I was like, oh, I was thinking another bike, but oh my god, you're not wrong. So that's why I came down to Costa Mesa. We had to color match some parts, and then we headed over to Coastal Airbrush, and we're like kids in a candy store. At this point with me, I had the spring and I had a couple pieces powder coated to show Mono what like colors we were going with. See, you have the tank here. I got some red pieces there just to kind of show him. I have the red piece on the tank that we are changing up. So with those in tow, we headed on over to Coastal Airbrush. Like I was saying, this place is just such a cool place to go to, and listening to him talk about the different painters that go in there and the different stuff that he's learned from some of these guys. I watched him airbrush back in the day. He's fantastic, and just to see that he's still growing and wanting that effort and having that drive to be better is really cool. He's also a fantastic tattoo artist, and if you guys haven't known, I've been in the tattoo world myself. Mondo and I started at the same shop about 18 years ago, and he's tattooed on me numerous times. Like, so there's a lot of like cool things, and being friends with somebody in this industry and growing up in this industry and seeing a lot of like the custom builds. There's so much fun stuff. Like right here, there's just so many different paints and clears, and you know, oh my god, what are we gonna do? Like, I'm thinking about what I would paint the Challenger if I go to paint the Challenger, what I would do to do this if I do that. I'm just cool colors that I'm like, oh my god, I love this. Different flakes that you can put in them, different colors of pearl. There's so many options in this place. They're not cheap, but they are really, really cool, and that's where we actually came up with a lot of the ideas right then and there. Some of this is from Young Gun Performance Instagram that I totally had to snag of like them in the powder coating process, and I thought this was a lot really cool. Not, you know, crazy quality of video, but still fun nonetheless. So my springs there, all the little parts, I mean, those are not my wheels, so somebody else's wheels. But that gold sparkle on the spring came out really, really nice against the red. I still have to go drop more parts off now to get done. Unfortunately, I wanted to shoot this myself when I was there, but I didn't get a chance. So this is the first time of me having the frame sitting on the motor. So I just kind of have it barely rigged up, a couple bolts in there to hold it on. I've got so many parts right here that are wrapped up, still powder coated. This one, what took me a while, I had to leave this at the dealer for a while. I don't have the tools to press bearings, so I just had them do it. They're really cool, helping me out, getting some stuff done, you know, and for what they were doing, not crazy expensive for me to drop it off over there for like an hour labor or whatever it ended up being. They got the bearings in. This bearing they had to actually get because it was like 2 months back order, and it was going to push my build past the one Moto show. And that was my biggest drive of like, okay, this build goes on the trailer like April 25th, and we drive out April 26th in the morning. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. We do not have time. On the 27th, it has to be unloaded, and it has to be inside the venue for the show, and then it has to stay there till Sunday. So that was like the biggest drive of this whole thing. I've got the wheels here, which, like I was saying, those the bearings are not correct at this point. I'm still waiting for those, but the bike's tore back down like you guys saw at the beginning of the video. So right here, I'm just kind of going over like everything's kind of a mess, and I've kind of lived in this like organized chaos because I know where everything is right here. I have baggies, I have things wrapped up, I have so many things just sitting that I don't want to lose. And like, we're talking about moving like into a house. That's one of the fridges Mondo painted for us back in the day at one of our shops. Now, so many different things going through my head on paint, so many different like waiting for Mondo to get done with the paint is I think where we're at this point when I was filming this. So I had to get all this stuff put back together, which I started doing over the course of the next couple of days. Had to put the battery box back together, all the wiring back together. I have the wiring ran through the frame right here too. Believe you can see that right there in the middle. So once again, organized chaos. It was just like, all right, get this in here and get things going. Just trying to picture this, and you're looking at everything and like, okay, you can really see the frame encase this motor all inside here. I do have the other part coming. There's stuff I have to do with that. You can see that box off to the left on deck. I hadn't switched this over yet. That was all part of the build. Come to realize like, oh yeah, I want to powder coat that as well. I've got the other part of the thing down there, bunch of saran wrap parts laying around. Mondo's sending me teasers right here on Snapchat and Instagram like, hey man, I've started, you know. It's like, yeah, okay. So we had that stealth gray paint matched. He's got the tank like laid out, and he's working on this. He's messaging me at the time like, how are we gonna do the lettering, going back and forth, and like we had our ideas originally, and he's getting everything prepped because he had to sand down that gray. He's changing the clear. We're actually doing that again the next time. By changing the clear, I mean he's going to be adding more clear, and we're going to be adding a pearl like dust in there. We're going to be adding like thicker dusting. It's hard to talk about. Right here he's actually adding that shadow that's underneath the candy apple or candy red that he's using. So he was having a lot of fun sending me video and teasing me and doing the whole thing. So but of course I'm sitting here like, just, oh my god, I can't wait. And of course nothing is color sanded, buff, anything. If you guys don't know, on paint you paint it all, clear it all, sand it all, you know, get rid of that orange peel, and there's just some amazing stuff that people can do with this. You can see right here before any of the gold leaf was done, any of the new clear on that gray. That gray's got this crazy flat look to it right now. Just, it went through some amazing steps, and I'm so glad he sent me these so I could see them. And of course I'm stealing this off of Instagram and Snapchat at the moment, so there's random ads in there. But hey, that's just part of it. Here you can see that clears on there. We haven't gotten to the gold yet. It's like just stage after stage after stage. Yeah, oh my god, I'm like taken back. I remember watching this, just like, oh my god, like, oof. There's so many little things he wants to add of airbrushing inside the red. We do have a fairing coming from the Sport Chief that we're going to put on this bike, and we're going to have some custom paint to that as well. And there's like little touches that we want to do without going crazy. I think it'll be crazy to some, but this was crazy to some. I've had people already tell me that, you know, stock was better. I am not here for stock, I'll tell you that right now. Just watching that gold being added on there is incredible. Gold leaf is just such a cool thing to me. I really find it like super like intense of like an art form, something extra to add, you know, like if you take it down to its basics of like adding glue and then spreading it on, that whole thing back in the day of glittering it. So right here, I was able to take my Ring camera and take footage off of it. So this is my first time doing that. My buddy Jesse's over right here. We're, you know, getting the tubes back in the triple tree, and I do believe there was a little bit of scratching on the tubes, unfortunately. There's a little bit of powder coat that just was a little extra, so I need to like sand that down. We're debating on painting the tubes for the forks and see how that'll look. Right here I got the marker on there, I still got to take that off. We're rebalancing, just normal stuff with doing this. It was time consuming, and it's not a lot of like stuff to film during this without just putting you guys on a time lapse. And instead I figured, you know, I'll throw in little chunks where, you know, you can see we have the bars on now, headlight on, we have the wheel. At this point we are still waiting for the painted parts. I think we're about a week before getting those. No, we're a couple weeks before that, if that timestamp is correct on the bottom. It was cutting a little close. This is after Arizona Bike Week when I got back, and we got the springs on, we got the rear wheel on here, going through every little detail, adding thread locker, all that crazy stuff. It was a lot. And then, you know, getting footage like this all together. I'm super happy with this phase of the motorcycle. You can see we have all new foot pegs on from Lawless Garage, the original garage, I think is what they are. Foot pegs, floorboards. We powder coated the levers. I put on the new Carry Hart grips that have a red on there. I had a silver before. We did the red bezel, red triple trees. I hate these turn signals. I'm going to be changing them as soon as possible. I added that like Amazon gas cap on there. Hopefully I can find something else that I like a little bit more. All this is painted right here, the Audette with the red powder coated like framing to it. I'm super stoked right here, and you can see that back pulley is not done, but the bolts, we got those ceramic coated black instead, so that way they weren't that like bright silver metal look on everything. The pulley, now seeing it, I do wish it was red, so I am gonna go back and do that while the bike's apart. There's a couple other little pieces I can't really point out in this video, but there's a casing to a pulley gear. I want to paint that. Little things like that. We're still missing the sissy bar in this point. We're going to change the bars and, like I said, add the fairing. So lots of little changes coming for the next stage besides the paint. And what happened is Moto, he's like, hey man, I got good news and I got bad news. This is him calling me like a week before the show, I believe. Yeah, cause I think it was like a Wednesday or something. He called me, and it was Wednesday that I had to leave the next week. And he goes, hey man, I got good news and bad news. What do you want first? And I'm like, well, just give me the bad news, man. Get it over with. And he's like, it's not done. And it's just like, ha ha ha, heart drop moment. He's like, good news is you got to take it as is. Bad news is I want it back. Like, get it back to me when you're done. So it's one of those like, all right, this is a stage we can take. It's not completely done. There's imperfections in the paint at this point. Nothing crazy. I would have to sit here and point them all out to you guys. It's not the end. Right there. There you go. There's little tiny things that it doesn't all go on perfect. It's a paint job from a professional. It's not a factory paint job that is cut and dry. We have a lot going into this, and like I said, it's not done. We have another vision still to come. There was original talk of this, so it's not necessarily this was the original version and we decided on something else. We've got a little ways to go, and that's not bad to me. There's things I want to customize. I have some ideas in my head for the turn signals that I don't know how I'm going to pull it off, but I'm going to do my absolute best to pull off what's in my head, because I'm super stoked to do that. The little things like the ceramic the bolts I really liked. I really didn't like having the silver bolts on there. Like all over this bike, there was little silver bolts that just really didn't need to be there. It wasn't terrible contrast with the gray, but with what we're doing, they needed to be blacked out or maybe color matched or something to that. Just in general. If anybody's wondering, I absolutely love the Lawless bars. If you have forward controls on, they may be a little close to your controls. For mids, they're absolutely perfect. For forwards, it just depends on how your feet sit, if you're going to like them or not. I still like them. I'm still running them. I think it looks fantastic. I couldn't get over that red. There were some people that are like, they saw the red seat and they're like, oh, now I get it. And I was just like, I mean, it's been in my head, like they were talking about the red frame, because the paint, once again, was not the original idea. But there's little things we're going to put in that. I want to paint that centerpiece on the top. We've got the red intake right there from Lloyds Garage. That Lloyds one, if you guys weren't following me or Riding Fish, he brought it from Minnesota for me. The St. Paul dealer, Amanda up there, was able, I called her and was just like, hey, I'm looking for the 1901 round intake that you guys have. And she said, I do have one. And I said, oh my God. And she said, it is the last one in the country, and it's in my dealer. So, bam, bought that. I was like, and Riding Fish happened to be coming down about, I think, a week later or something like that. And he dropped it off to me, because Fred's awesome. And we had breakfast, and he made a whole fun video about it. If you guys haven't seen it, you should go check it out on his channel. But this is the stage of the motorcycle right before we left for the show. I did a Bikes and Coffee on Saturday morning, and then on Tuesday I loaded this bike in a trailer before, what, like 15 hours or something like that before I left for the show. So it just felt like so satisfying in this moment to see the bike completely together. I'm in love with it. I love the way this bike rides with these handlebars, but I'm really waiting and excited for the look of the next one. So right here, first time the bike's been unloaded outside of the show. It got a lot of compliments at the show. Thank you everybody who stopped to talk to me about it. This bike has 479 miles on it, and I stripped it down to the motor. So yeah. Thanks Meatball Rebel for tagging along with me and going to the show. We had 4 bikes on the show together between both of us, my 2, his 2, 2 Chiefs, 2 Bobbers, and then there she is. She's sitting on the platform next to a beautiful Scout and some choppers, and it was just a really cool experience. And I'm glad everybody saw this, and I can't wait to show off the next form. I don't want to say final form, because I don't think there's ever a final form of any project. It's just an evolution, and it keeps upgrading, and you'll find little things to change here and there. And I'm going to be riding this bike and showing it off because this bike calls for the sun. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for being a part of everything that I've been doing for the last 5 years, and I can't wait to see what we do with the next 5. So stay safe, stay classy, and I'll catch you guys later.